Hi, this is Mike Maloney, and this is the second in a series of videos that we're going to do that are going to analyze some of the topics that they touch on in Brexit, the movie. It's a brilliant film. If you haven't seen it yet, you really need to. It's very, very important. And if you know anybody in Great Britain, or in fact, if you know anybody that knows anybody in Great Britain, please send this to them. As many people in Great Britain need to watch this as soon as possible. Time is of the essence. It's a very important film, and it will help determine their future and the future of the European Union. Anyway, about 12 minutes and 40 seconds into the film, the host is walking around one of the big buildings of the European Union. And then he says, "There are a number of people here that are paid more than the British Prime Minister." Ah, but you might say, how many? 4? 10? 100? 10,000. There are 10,000 people here that are paid more than David Cameron. That's 1 in 5 of everyone who works for the EU. So I find that rather astounding. 1 in 5, that means 20% of all EU employees, and there's thousands of them, make more than the British Prime Minister. This is just crazy, but they can't be voted out of office. They have nothing to worry about, so voting themselves raises sounds like a pretty good idea. This just got me thinking. I was doing some research a few years back for a potential newsletter that I was thinking about writing. And I was looking on the Federal Reserve's website. So this is, again, the St. Louis Federal Reserve, their Economic Research Department, which is called the St. Louis Fred, the research department. But this is all employees of the government. However, it's not. They call it all employees, but it excludes all military, including CIA, FBI, the intelligence agencies, the NSA, and so on. They're all excluded from this count here. So if you added the military to this, it would probably be more than double what it's showing here. But we've got over 22 million. This is in thousands. So it's 22 million people working for the government right now in the United States. And then I took a look at the total population, and this is all ages, including the armed forces overseas. And then I took these two graphs, and I made one graph out of them where I lay them on top of each other, and then I moved the employees up so that when the graph starts in 1949, or 1952, I'm sorry, I wanted the two lines to overlap, because what I want to show here is how government is growing at a faster rate than the general population. The only good news here is that it looks like this could be a topping pattern. I'm not sure, though. There was a pullback like this back in the 80s when Ronald Reagan first came in, but then he started expanding the military quite a bit, and then George Bush Sr., and then Bill Clinton, and George Bush Jr., and now it's sort of leveled off with Obama, but will it start growing again or not? I don't know, but what I do know is that for every government employee back in 1952, there were 23 citizens, 23 civilians that one employee served. Today, there's only 13 citizens for each government employee. So that's a very large growth in the size of government. It's a very dangerous trend. And if you saw last week's video, it explains how government can't give us anything that is a net positive for society. It always has to come at a net loss for society, because when they pay these people, they have to get paid out of either taxes or the inflation tax. So there's two different ways that we fund government. We fund it through either direct taxation, where we take currency from people that produce, and we give it to all of these people that work for the government and politicians and so on, and then it finally comes spitting out at the other end. Or we give it as social programs directly to the population, but after passing it through the government and losing a whole bunch of its purchasing power. Or the other way that we fund it is through deficit spending, and that is called the inflation tax. It comes back to us either way. Whenever they want to do something that's going to cost $1 in government, it's going to end up costing the taxpayer, or through inflation tax, it's going to cost society $2 to do that government project that's going to produce $1. And so everything that government does comes at a net loss for society. We are poorer after having the government do something for us. And the trend here, with the growth of government being at such a greater rate than the growth of the general population, is bad news, and it means that this ratio of how much the government has to take compared to how much comes out the other end in some program or benefit, that ratio is going to get greater and greater to where there's less and less productivity coming out of it. Thank you very much for listening, and we'll see you next time. If you got something from this, please like it and share it. Thank you.